Good afternoon, friends. Naya Swami Hriman here from the Camino Hermitage on Camino Island as we once again take a look at the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Today we're on stanza 25, and this stanza is the first clear indication that Omar had a sense of humor. In fact, he is deploying an ancient technique of dialogue and teaching which posits as if affirming a precept one doesn't subscribe to. And by asking that question to the students, let's say, the audience, it gives the appearance that the teacher is open to considering all points of view. Not that he isn't, but then the discussion ensues why that seemingly affirmed precept is indeed false. And that's what we have here today. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to have Swami Kriyananda sing it, and then we'll see where that leads us. Okay, so picture Omar Khayyam, tongue in cheek. Why all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so learnedly are thrust like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust.
Why all the saints and sages who discussed of the two worlds so learnedly are thrust, like foolish prophets forth, their words to scorn are scattered, and their mouths are stopped with dust.
Yes, indeed. So he's asking the question that in conversations with skeptics is commonly asked, well, if all these saints are so wise, where are they now? They're all dead, aren't they? So what do they have to share with us? And of course, it's an absurd question, which is to say that although there are traditions in which great saints are considered to be immortal, living in their bodies for centuries, even millennia, that really isn't the issue here. This objection that's raised by so many skeptics is of course a false one. Why? Because saints they don't declare themselves as some sort of gods that come down from above and are immortal. Their followers might claim that after the saints are long gone, but they themselves don't purport that. There's an amusing story in the life of Paramahansa Yogananda, who lived here in the United States through the 20s, 30s, and 40s, met somebody. There was there's always a lot of health culturalists, fads, food fads, and so on, and one of them, even to this day, is breatharianism, people who claim to remain immortal by living only on breath. In any case, there was somebody like that who Yogananda met back in probably the 20s or 30s, I'm guessing, and he made such a claim. But Yogananda, he said, I don't know whether to the man or to others, that just watch. If his hair turns gray and his teeth come out, or, if his body, in other words, shows signs of aging, you can be pretty rest assured that he's not immortal. His body, at least, is not immortal. And we have this strange teaching. It's come down to us, at least to my knowledge, it's come down to us through the Abrahamic tradition, Judaism principally morphing into Christianity, has to do with the resurrection of the dead. The idea that somehow after death our physical bodies Maybe they were burned up, cremated, or in any case obliterated, maybe in warfare or disease, and yet somehow, magically, in the future, we come out of our graves and we reacquire our physical form, and all is well. Well, it's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a dumb idea, but when all you know is the five senses and the material world around you, one can imagine that the summum bonum of religion, the highest thing to be offered to us from God high above, is to live forever in the body with which you are comfortable, okay, in that ego. Well, the Swami Kriyananda would put it sometimes, the prospect of living forever, for an eternity, in one's own body, and in any case, whatever kind of body it might be, whether ethereal or physical, in the same ego, is not really a welcoming prospect. I think Frank Sinatra sang a dirge long ago, "Is that all there is? Then let's go dancing." And boy, I'll tell you, if that's all there is in heaven above, strumming harps and all that sort of thing, it sounds pretty boring. And I think the human heart aspires to more than just that. And so this idea, this skepticism that you also see when a renowned spiritual teacher, a sincere spiritual teacher, whether or not classified as a saint or even greater, has ill health or even troubles, lawsuits, that such a spiritual teacher, such a saint to be, is a fraud, is not what he or she seems to be. Well, that may be true in some levels, certainly, because until we have achieved moksha, soul freedom in God, and in a permanent way, we all, even the highest saintly beings, all still have the possibility of falling from their state of grace, from their state of spiritual realization. And so the fact that spiritual teachers are flawed human beings really shouldn't be as great a concern as people make it out to be. Now, if they're being hypocritical, that of course is certainly worthy of critique. If they're pretending to be spiritual when they're not, that's a different story. But the fact that one who is sincerely trying has flaws, and as Swami Kriyananda once put it, a slip is not a fall, is just something to be expected. There's another aspect to spiritual striving, and this all descends from the standpoint of the skepticism and the finger pointing that goes on when people who are spiritual don't always act spiritual. And this is true for religions at large, what to mention. I'm something short of those who really perpetrate evil or harm to others under the banner of religion. I'm not talking about such people. I'm talking about people who are sincere, but who are human and are not yet perfect, okay? And so such people and religion, which run by such people, even the good ones, is still flawed, imperfect, use these imperfections as ways to excuse their own interest and their own opportunity to improve themselves. Say, look, those people, they're look at that priest or that nun or that lady who goes to church every day, and look how she gossips, this kind of thing. Well, we're all subject to that, and we are social beings, and so we do tend to come together in various associations that reflect our values. It can be a sewing club, a book club, it can be lots of things, but here we're talking about spirituality, and when we come together, we call it religion. When we organize it, or, try to organize it, it's called religion. But this is important for us. we need the association of people of like mind to help for us to help support others and others to help support us. Because so long as we are these imperfect but otherwise sincerely striving souls, humans striving to be fully perfect in our souls, then we need one another. Okay? But we too fall all too easily into the trap of judging one another, as we unfortunately also secretly judge ourselves. This is one of the traps. This is one of the, you might say, the downside of spiritual community, of spiritual sangha or fellowship, is that particular aspect of human nature takes over. And when people get afraid, or when someone has, maybe the leader of the group or someone like that has acted out and done things, it might trigger in the group at large, or in a percentage of them, a hailstorm of critique and condemnation and judgment. You see this all the time. It happens in other organizations, corporations and nonprofits, of course, but they at least don't aspire to perfection, so to speak, aspire to goodness, and so we can discount those. And so this is something we all should be cognizant of. Self-acceptance, being realistic and not Pollyannish, and that's actually benefited you within association with other people. We can see maybe people who would appear to us are doing a little bit better than we are. Again, that's just what it might appear. It's a good thing, because if you were totally on your own, if you decided to not be involved with other people because they are imperfect, because organizations are imperfect, then you could very well pat yourself on the back for the fact that you had a nice, happy thought today, or that you helped somebody across the street, or petted a dog, or something like that. And I must tell you, there's an awful lot of spirituality that lives on that superficial level. People who say all the right things and talk incessantly about love, but you cross them once and, well, anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So we need each other. We need examples for one another. And at the same time, we can help each other if we try to be on the alert for gossip, condemnation, and judgment. And, it doesn't matter whether it's ourselves or others. They're both the same thing. If you're going to beat yourself up at some point, you get tired of that, so you beat somebody else up. It just flips back and forth. So don't mistake false humility by the fact that you beat yourself up, because that just means you, in fact, do the same thing to other people in your off moments, shall we say. So Omar is having a little bit of fun when he talks about, when he affirms the worthlessness of saints, long gone dead saints, or as I point out, saints who, or spiritual people who maybe fall ill or have troubles, or even, fall into delusion for a bit, There are lots of stories of people who maybe leave the spiritual path and then years later they come back, and why condemn such people? Why judge them? They have come back, and as we all will come back. We are all prodigal children. Sometimes it's moment to moment or day by day. Other times it's in larger cycles, even lifetimes. I remember a story of, I don't know whether it was a monk or nun, but some disciple at Mount Washington in Los Angeles. And Yogananda said about this person that if he'd have stayed just a little bit longer and fought out the delusion he was gripped in, he would have passed the test. But now it would take 200 lifetimes before he came back. So, okay, well, partly humorous, partly not. And I just got word before broadcast that the first case of a COVID death to someone connected to our local membership, I just got the news, the mother back east of one of our members at the Ananda community. So we'll be saying some prayers for the family and for her mother's soul. Okay, well, keep the faith, be well, be happy.